Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 8 deck lists for a 68-player event. This took place at Charlies Collectibles Show. Now, we did coverage just a couple of days ago for the 10k event that took place at Charlies Collectibles Show on the Saturday and Sunday. Swiss on Saturday, Top Cut on Sunday, which was a huge event. But yeah, this was a 2k that took place on the Sunday for people that didn't make day 2. There haven't been a lot of events lately, so obviously I'm grateful to look at any data that we can find, but there is one deck in particular that makes me very, very excited to take a look through these deck lists. We have got some spice. This event took place on the 23rd of June. As I said, 68 players, 2k in prizes up for grabs. So we're going to get stuck in. A shout out to the channel sponsors, Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, then check out Cardmarket. But let's jump straight in and take a look. Man, I am roasting. It is so hot in the UK, and I've got these lights on me. Your boy's roasting. Right, okay, full disclaimer. This isn't the most diverse set of deck lists that we've ever seen. We've got 4 Emerald Steel Bucky lists, 3 Ruby Amethyst lists, and then 1 very, very spicy Amber Ruby list without Mufasa, and that's absolutely the main event. In first place, we have Austin with that Emerald Steel Bucky discard. We're seeing the one cost Diablo to scalp the hand to open up that ideal dream opening on turn 2, play Bucky and then shift your Floodborn Diablo. Pretty much stapled to the deck at this point. I think right at the beginning of the format we were seeing maybe half the Bucky decks weren't playing it, but more often than not we are seeing that one drop these days. We are seeing the full Robin Hood shift line, 3 copies of the Jafar Dreadnought, we're seeing 4 copies of the Beast Tragic Hero, the 3 Aladdin, another Floodborn, and remove those items. We're seeing 4 Ursa Deceivers of All, with 3 Sudden Chill, 4 Storm, and 4 Raging Fire as our song package. We're seeing 3 copies of the Flynn Rider, his own biggest fan, to quest for a lot of lore if our opponent's got an empty hand. We've got 2 copies of Along Came Zeus, 2 We Don't Talk About Bruno, and 2 copies of that Hidden Cove. Really great addition to the Bucky deck. 1 cost, inkable location, 1 to move there, 6 willpower, no lore gain, but each character here gains +1 strength and +1 willpower, which really messes with maths for the opponent, gets things out of range for things like the Floodborn Sisu, or maybe Medusa, or just challenge range, or things like Grab Your Sword. So yeah, this Hidden Cove definitely putting in a lot of work, and Bucky once again, well, I say once again, I don't think he's been winning a lot lately. I think, well, Chicago he won, but yeah, didn't make it further than the top 8 for the 10k. They were all eliminated and didn't proceed to top 4, but winning the 2k, so congratulations to Austin. In top 4, we've got Joshua, who is running the 4-3 Pegasus line. We're also seeing the Robin Hood line, just 2 copies of Jafar Dreadnought, no Flynn Rider in here. We're seeing the Ursa Deceiver of All with a full song package, 4 Chill, 4 Storm, 4 Rage, the 3 Aladdin, 2 copies of Along Came Zeus. Not seeing the Hidden Cove in here, which I do think hidden, like, if I was going to play Bucky, not that I would, but if I was going to do it, to be fair, I say that I did in Chapter 3. It wasn't as good in Chapter 3. It was much more reasonable. But yeah, I believe I would opt to play the Hidden Cove. I really like the just what it adds, just messing with your opponent's maths so much. But we are seeing 2 copies of Baboom, so hoping to have a good early game against opposing Diablos, Robin Hoods, Pegasus, things like that. So looks good. Congratulations to Joshua. Also in top 4 on Bucky discard, we've got Zan, who is no stranger to Lorcana success. Made top 4 at DLC Atlanta. A fantastic player, great content creator as well. So huge congratulations to Zan, who's opting to play 3 copies of the Magic Broom Aerial Cleaner, 2 cost inkable 2/3, quest for 1, and gains evasive during your turn. So very similar to Rise of the Floodborn's Jafar, but the stats the other way around. Great, it's a Diablo answer, and it's an inkable one, so I think this is perfectly reasonable. 2 copies of the Flynn Rider in here, 2 Jafar Dreadnought, the 2 Tinkerbell, song packages, 2 Sudden Chill, but full counts of Rage, Storm, and Raging Fire, 2 Zeus, 2 Grab Your Swords, and we are seeing those 2 Hidden Coves in here. Also only 3 copies of Ursa Deceiver of All, which I think would be, if I was going to play this deck, I think 3 is probably fine. But nonetheless, congratulations to Zan on a top 4. And our final Bucky discard deck in top 8, we've got Trevor with 1 tech option. We've got Morph here, Space Goo, 2 cost inkable, 2/1, quest for 1. You may play any character with shift on this character as if this character had any name. So really, you never want to curve this, I think, more often than not, because like you always want the Bucky turn 2. As long as you've got Floodborns to follow that up with. But if you miss the Bucky, it's another option for turn 2 if you don't want to play the Ursa Deceiver necessarily, and even just later on in the game, just having this option that you can shift anything onto it. The Diablo, the Aladdin, the Flynn Rider, the Jafar, the Beast, the Robin Hood, the Tinkerbell, plenty of options here. So yeah, nice bit of spice, 2 copies of the Flynn Rider. We've got 3 Ursa Deceiver of all, no sudden chills in here, just 4 Storm Rage on and 4 Strength of Raging Fire. I don't know, I like the sudden chills, but this is probably fine, and just 3 Ursa Deceiver, Deceiver of all makes sense if you're not going to play the sudden chills. 2 Zeus, 2 Bruno, 2 Swords, and 2 of that Hidden Cove. So yeah, Bucky doing very well once again. Congratulations to Trevor. Going back now to second place, the first of our 3 Ruby Amethyst lists. We've got George, who I believe is from the Forbidden Mountain. Shout out to George. He also had a lot of Lorcana success in previous formats. I don't have any examples off the top of my head, but we've definitely covered him before. So congratulations to them. We're seeing for 1-drops these 4 Chernobog's followers, which are staple in pretty much most Ruby Amethyst lists, are opting for this to be one of, if not their only 1-drop. But we are also seeing 2 copies of the Magic Broom, which some Ruby Amethyst players are on. 1 cost Inkable, 1/2 quest for 1. When you play another character, you can banish this character to draw a card. So it's another 1-drop to get down if you do want to go down the snake line of play, which I find more in my Ruby Amethyst testing for this format. Quite often that's not the way you want to go. Unless it's the mirror, then maybe that's fine. But yeah, if you do want to go down that line of play, it's another way of getting the snake online, or even just the fox. But more than anything, it's just helping us draw cards, help us thin our deck, especially against the Bucky decks, where we really need to conserve our resources and make sure that we're hitting those key cards on the right turns. We want that to be prepared for 7, and then we want to know that we are drawing rabbits and ways to bounce the rabbit and friends and stuff to like replenish our resources after that board wipe that usually comes from Ruby Amethyst versus Bucky. So yeah, I'm not on the brooms, but I think they're perfectly fine to play. 4 copies of the Flynn Rider, getting at the start of your turn. If you have a character in play with more strength, then each opposing character gain 3 lore. So against things like Sapphire Steel in particular, being able to go Flynn Rider into Sisu, that alone is like they really struggle to get something over this Sisu. So you start gaining lore, and then if you can put a castle down on 4, then that is just the dream. Even against Ruby Sapphire, sometimes, like obviously they have Maui, so they do have ways to get around it. Also on turn 4, they could just play their Grandma Tala, who only has 3 strength, but if they're able to Fishbone Quill, then there's a chance that they can deplete their hand enough so that Sisu doesn't have more than 3. There are lines that they can make, but outside of that, or Maui, they can struggle against it if they're wanting to use those turns for just Flavisham and stuff like that. So it can be a good line against them. And even in the mirror, just later on in the game, if you've already got an established Maui or Medusa or something, this is perfectly fine to put down. It's just something that they have to have an answer to. So you love to see it. 4 Fox, of course, 4 Goat for the rabbit, 4 Goat for the lore, rabbit for the draw, 3 copies of Maleficent to be some more card draw, another consistency card. Again, against the discard decks, this is all you want to do on turn 3. You just ink every turn and you play nothing. You play the Chernobog's followers if you're on the draw. On the play against Bucky Steel. You wouldn't play the Chernobog on 1 on the draw because you can, unless they play 1-drop Diablo, because if they go Diablo and then you go Chernobog's followers, they can shift Diablo and then sing Storm Rage on, so I don't think it's worth it, but on the play it's fine. But yeah, the point being, you don't do anything unless it's drawing you cards. So on 3, you could also just play friends on the other side without singing it. But yeah, Maleficent, great to help you draw some cards in that deck. We've got the 4 Sisu, which again works really well with the Flynn Rider, and it's just another aggressive quester, which is what this deck. Man, I'm having a bad day. Is what this deck is lacking. Having 2 lore and that 4 willpower keeps her out of the range of a lot of things. And again, if she does have a nice high strength because our opponent's drawing a lot of cards, and that's even better for us. 4 Maui for board control. We've got 3 Medusa, which is, I think, the staple for Ruby Amethyst decks at this point. It's still really important to have them. Beast Tragic Heroes, even just later in the game, Diablos, things like that. Plenty of targets for Medusa. She is as strong as ever. 1 copy of Lady Tremaine in here, which I do like. It's another aggressive quester. One of our only other characters that has 2 lore on it, but just this ability, which is also on the 3 copies of Bee King Undisputed, is so important for the Sapphire Steel and the Ruby Sapphire matches, because the Ruby Sapphire decks, they're not playing any characters cheaper than Grandma Tala a lot of the time. There are exceptions. Some are playing things like Flynn Rider, so there are exceptions, but a lot of the time they're just putting down 1 big character at a time. So if you're able to answer with Tremaines and Be King Undisputed, then that's really, really strong. 4 Brawl is absolutely necessary for Diablos, and, well, for Diablos, but also helps with Flavisham. The 4 Friends, as I said, and yeah, the Beat King Undisputed is very quickly becoming my favourite card in the deck. Just, it's so strong, this ability to, Tremaine's ability has always been strong. Having it on a song is so good, especially because I made this reference in a previous coverage video, but whether you go turn 7, be prepared, or they go turn 7, be prepared. Say it's you go turn 7, be prepared. Let's say that you're the one to play it. Then they play one character, and you can go Beat King Undisputed into Castle, which is such a strong play. And yeah, just being able to sing this, I love it. 4 copies of Be Prepared, which sometimes we're seeing as a 3, but George opting for the 4, and of course the 4 Queen's Castle. So yeah, I think this is pretty close to the perfect Ruby Amethyst list for this set at the moment. Again, obviously metas evolve. But yeah, I think this is the template you're going to see more often than not. You may or may not see the Brooms. I know a couple of Ruby Amethyst players that still aren't sold on the Flynn Rider. You might not always see the Tremaine, but everything else looks like it's going to be the norm. So congratulations to George. Next up in top 8, a very similar looking Ruby Amethyst list. We're not seeing the 2 copies of Broom, just the 4 Chernobogs as our 1-drops. We're maxed out on the Maleficents. We're playing 1 more Lady Tremaine in here, which again, I like. Yeah, it looks like we've just dropped 2 Brooms for an extra Maleficent and an extra Tremaine, which looks really good to me, so congratulations to them. And our final Ruby Amethyst list, we've got Chandler, is playing 4 copies of that Magic Broom. We're seeing 2 Crab, who has dropped out of most Ruby Amethyst lists, just because, like, there never feels like there's anything to challenge, is the problem with Crab. I still like Crab, and especially, like, I think in the mirror is probably its best place to be, but a lot of our other decks, they're not really playing anything to the board, and if they are, they're cheap things that you don't really necessarily need this Crab, because you only really feel like you need the Crab if you need to go higher than 4, which again can be great for locations, and of course there are a couple of characters like Stout-Hearted that it helps to get over, but generally it's just not felt as needed as it, or as strong as it was in the past. But seeing 2 copies here, and we're seeing 2 copies of Super Goo, 4-cost Inkable, 2/4, Quest for 1, Rush, and Super Peanut Powers. Whenever, I always have to say it like that, I don't know why. Super Peanut Powers, I don't know why I feel the need to basically spit those words. Whenever this character challenges another character, gain 2 lore. Yeah, like, I definitely think we can call this the most overhyped card before, like, on reveal. That did not translate into success. Mostly definitely hasn't translated into as much success as I think a lot of people thought. Maybe you were different. I wasn't. I was definitely quite on this goofy train, but yeah, it's just not felt great so far in Ruby Amethyst, but Chandler leading it to top 8, so clearly putting some work for them. No Tremaines in here, but we are seeing the 3 Beat King Undisputeds. Everything else pretty standard. So yeah, congratulations to Chandler. And our final list for the top 8. The funnest looking deck I think I've ever seen in my life. This makes me so happy. We have TowelManPurple, whom I have I've never met them or even had a conversation with them, but I've ran into them before in the past on the now non-existent online ladder. Very good player. And I do have some vague memories of them always trying out some pretty spicy things. And yeah, top 8 from a 68-person tournament, is that what I said? Big old field. And just look at this. So let's just go through all the cards to start off with. We've got no 1-drops. No 1-drops whatsoever. Our 2-drops, we've got 4 copies of Mother Gothel, who enters play with 3 damage, which is obviously going to pair really nicely with Rapunzel, who removes up to 3 damage counters and draws a card for each one. We've got 4 copies of Lumiere here. 2-cost Inkable, 2/2. Quest for 1. Your other characters get +1 strength, which is just great. We've talked about math fixing a lot and how much it changes, whether it's just because of challenges, or you're now out of range of things like Medusa or Sisu. The list goes on. So I like the Lumiere. We're seeing 4 copies of that baby Sisu, the Emboldened Warrior, getting an extra strength for each card in our opponent's hand. Again, it's a good quester. It can be a heck of a beat stick if our opponent has drawn a lot, and 4 willpower is great. So this is just overall just a really solid card. We're seeing 4 copies of Tuk Tuk, 3-cost Inkable, 2/3, Quest for 1, Evasive. And on a roll, when you play this character, you may move him and one of your other characters to the same location for free. The other character gets +2 strength this turn. Just as a note, you have to move a character to a location to give it that +2. You can't just have the +2 part. You have to move another character to a location to give them that +2 as well. So let's just carry on going for everything. We got 4 copies of the Super Goof, who we've already discussed in this video. We got 4 copies of Prince Eric, Expert Helmsman, 4-cost uninkable 2/2 quest for 2, and Surprise Maneuver. When this character is banished, you may banish chosen character. A pretty solid card, who I like in this format more than any previous, to be honest. We got 4 copies of Card Soldiers, full deck. My G. 5-cost inkable 5/5 quest for 2. You'll have to deal with them sooner or later. Apparently so. Apparently so. We've got 4 copies of Jim Hawkins, Space Traveller, 5-cost inkable 4/4 quest for 2. 2 abilities. When you play this character, you may play a location with cost 4 or less for free. And take the helm. Whenever you play a location, this character may move there for free. Solid card. We've got 4 copies of the Queen of Hearts. Floodborn is irrelevant because we're not playing the baby. 5-cost inkable 4/3. Quest for 1 and let the game begin. Whenever one of your characters challenges another character, you may draw a card. So this is our other primary draw engine alongside exactly Rapunzel. This is how we draw. That's it. And then onto the non-character cards. First of all, we've got 4 copies of the 3-cost uninkable Just in Time. You may play a character with cost 5 or less for free. So that's a turn 3 Queen of Hearts, which can be cool. If you put down a turn 2 Gothel or Lumiere and they've exerted something, then put down the Queen of Hearts. We're immediately drawing cards. That doesn't always sound like a great trade. Well, definitely not with Lumiere. Maybe with Gothel, it's fine. But certainly something. But the 4 copies of Jim Hawkins, playing him as a 5-cost, and then getting to rush out a location does sound pretty interesting. There's the Card Soldiers here. There's also Prince Eric, which could probably feel quite cool. But to be honest, even if you go turn 2 Gothel and turn 3 Just in Time to play the Rapunzel, that's pretty good as well. Turn 3, draw 3. That feels pretty strong. I imagine that happened more often than not. So cool. We've got 4 copies of the Brawl to be a Diablo answer, but also for things like Flavisham and a couple of other targets. And now let's look at our locations. The most common being the RLS Legacy. 4 copies of this. It's a 4-cost uninkable, 3 to move there, 8 willpower, 2 passive lore gain, and 2 abilities. Characters gain evasive while here. And if you have a character here, you pay 2 less ink to move other characters here. So the dream is we get a character to the RLS, like the dream being Jim Hawkins is played, and then we can play RLS for free. And then there's a character there, so everything else can just move there for 1. But even if not Jim Hawkins, we just pay this 3 once, and then it's a lot cheaper to move anything else there. And again, the 8 willpower, that's a big old body, and it's got 2 passive lore gain. Like it's very similar to Castle. It's not inkable, and you don't get the draw cards effect, but the pressure it puts on the board is pretty similar. And then we've got 4 copies of Tiana's Palace. 3-cost uninkable, 2 to move there, 8 willpower, and Night Out. Characters can't be challenged while here. Just straight out, flat out, can't challenge me. Okay. And then we've got 4 copies of the Underworld. I'm so happy. 2-cost inkable, 2 to move there, 6 willpower, 1 passive lore gain. And it has the same ability that the character of Hades has, which is whenever a character quests while here, you may pay 3 to return a character card from your discard to your hand. So not the same as Hades, but very similar, very, very on theme. So yeah, that's kind of awesome. So of course, Jim Hawkins can rush in these locations. So just playing Jim on 5 or even on 3 with Just in Time. Then on 6, he's able to quest and start returning characters from your discard to your hand, which is just +1. Like, it's very similar to drawing a card if you've got decent enough stuff in your discard. Rushing in the Tiana's Palace and then assuring that Jim isn't able to be challenged, and he can't be Medusa'd, so he's going to require a bit more specific removal, whether that's Be Prepared or a well-timed Tremaine or Be King if you can get round other characters on board. And of course, we've mentioned the synergy with RLS Legacy, so that's pretty cool. But also Tuk here, like I said, when you play this character, you move him and another one of your characters to the same location for free. So if we played the Underworld or Tiana's Palace on turns 2 or 3, then at any point in the game when we've got a character on board, we can just threaten that, play Tuk, and now we're moving that other character to Tiana's Palace and it can't be challenged, or we move it to the Underworld if we want to get something back from our discard, or to the RLS Legacy if we want to start moving other things there. So this deck looks really, really cool. Alright, and because I was so astounded by this deck and I had so many questions and I love it dearly, I have tracked down TowelManPurple. Genuinely never had a conversation with the man before today, but I messaged him on Twitter. I was like, I'm just about to do a coverage video looking at your deck because I love it. And he was like, yo, we can talk about it if you want. I was like, I would absolutely love to. So, TowelManPurple, welcome. Tell the people who you are. Introduce yourself.
What's going on, Lorcana Villain, man? It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, let's get down to it.
Let's do it, my man. Okay, so you're playing some Amber Ruby. Just my muscle memory wanted to say Mufasa there, but it ain't. So okay, there's so much to look at here. First off, I love it. You got so much spice here, but what's great about it is that sometimes you see a deck like this and you think, oh, this person just went for the good times. But the more I look at it, the more I think this seems pretty good. I feel like a certain decks would struggle to answer some lines here. So, in your own words, tell us what brought around the creation of this deck.
So what I did is I sat for the last 2.5 weeks in my office room where I stream with my nephew, and we were just thinking of how to abuse just in time. And I think the most advantageous usage out of just in time would be with Jim Hawkins in a location. It's just so much accelerant without having to play the color blue.
Yeah.
And I feel like blue's weakness comes with locations. So they kind of like paired themselves together. I think if you have an answer to evasion against a green steel deck, that you're probably going to be okay. So like RLS Legacy, the Tuk, those things were able to help kind of pivot for that matchup.
For sure.
So that's how the molding began as we sat down and tested hours upon hours every single day for the last 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I remember running into you a few times on the now extinct online platform. I feel like we've had some pretty good games in the past online, but yeah, you always seem to be playing something super off meta. Why is that?
Well, I guess my TCG career started with Magic the Gathering, and that was something that I really liked doing in that game, was just innovating. Because if you there's not a better feeling than when you sit across from your opponent at a very high level event, and your opponent has to pick up your card and read it. You immediately feel like you're winning the game.
Yeah, right? It's a little trophy if you make them pick up your card and read it. I
yes, sir.
It. I love that. Okay, so you, as you say, against the blue decks in particular, yeah, that opening line of being able to go turn 3 Hawkins to then immediately throw in the Legacy or the Palace or any of these locations just seems so strong. I also mentioned sometimes I imagine it came up just playing Gothel on 2 and just in timing the Rapunzel on 3 just for that +3 draw.
Yes, sir. Most definitely.
Yeah, great line. And this Tuk, just obviously so diverse. Obviously, you have to move another character to a location to get that +2 strength. But that's just a bonus, really. Just a 3 move to a location, whether it's something that was already on the board that you can then move to the underworld and then you're immediately questing and bringing things back from the discard. Or, oh, okay, so you've got some big beat sticks. Oh, let's make myself evasive. Or just make it so that you can't challenge me. Absolutely love it. Are there any really cute interactions in this deck that you can remember from your run that you would highlight?
Okay, so I would say one of the most popular interactions was going either Lumiere or Gothel on 2, and then just-in-time Hawkins Legacy, or any location for that matter. Outside of that, so lines you're looking for, I guess, when mulliganing depends on the matchup.
Yeah.
But you had different lines. If you have Gothel, you obviously want Rapunzel, right? If you have Hawkins in location and just in time, it doesn't matter. You just want to be able to land a 2-drop. Doesn't matter if it's Lumiere, Gothel, or the Underworld for that matter. If you're playing against Green Steel, you want to at least have a Brawl or a Tuk in your hand to try to have an answer for your newfound glory, right, in Diablo.
Yeah, that's across the board. The Ruby Amethyst players are having, speaking as one of them, we're having the same problem. We don't want to play Brawl, but you just have to play 4.
Yes. So the deck did change minusculely from the day before in the 10K.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. So you played the same deck in the 10K?
Yes, I went 5-3 in the 10K, and my 3 losses were to red-purple.
Okay.
So I saw that there was a chink in the armor in the deck. Maui is just really problematic to put up with.
Yeah.
So originally, I did not have Lumiere or Super Goof in the deck. Okay. They were both Flynn and the 5-drop Pluto from set 4.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's another card that dodges Medusa, Brawl, Sisu, etc. It's a 4/5, so it gets within that class, and it's just in timeable. It's a target.
Yeah, I see you.
So Flynn, it felt almost like a win more card
Yeah.
in the blue matchups because you're already favored with all the locations.
Yes.
And the only time you really care is against your deck, blue-red.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it wasn't a necessary evil at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to switch it to Lumiere, where that Anthem effect is actually exponentially greater for the totality of the deck,
Mm-hmm.
making
Mm-hmm.
you trade up, whether you're making your Prince Eric hit for the magic number of 3,
Mm-hmm.
or
Just
imagine
keeping
like
things out of
having
range.
Lumiere. Yes, it makes your trades that much better, or even if you're not trading and you're just getting a profitable attack in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all of a sudden, there's a couple of things that you're now keeping out of Floodborn Sisu range, so that isn't bothering you. So yeah, really cute. I'm a big fan of the Lumiere in particular. And the card soldiers, tell me about this deck of cards. I mean, obviously
Okay.
it's a great 5-drop for the just-in-time, but there must be more. I want there to be more.
There is more, actually.
good.
Not only is it probably like the best statted character in these colors that has a quest more than one,
Yeah.
so it was able to quest for 2. We had tested other cards like the 5-drop Moana that was a 4/4.
Yeah.
The extra ability that it's attached to it that deals with locations never came up in testing at least 300 games. And
Wow.
for that, I was like, I'll take the stat line over it of the 1/1, just making it a 5/5. So questing
brilliant.
for 2, dodging all the removal,
Yeah.
being able to trade 1-for-1 with a Maui, all of those things were super relevant.
I love it. I remember because I had a really busy day, so I wasn't able to watch the entire stream, but I was clicking in and out every now and then. And I brought up the Twitch stream casted by the 20 Law guys, and I did a double take at the board. I was like, it's a bit of glare. I can't be seeing that right. And I saw this card soldiers, and I stopped everything I was doing just to bring up the chat and go, am I looking at card soldiers? And about 5 people were just a flood of yes. I was like, okay, when I find the time, I need to come back and look at the rest of this deck and imagine the smile on my face when I saw the rest of the spice. I absolutely love it. Obviously, you mentioned that you made a couple of changes between the 10k and the 2k for Lumiere and taking out the Flynn. Is there any other adaptations that this deck made over since your creation? Is there anything that was removed?
Yeah, so the other card that came in was Super Goof came in over the Pluto that I played in the 10K. So Super Goof was played in the 2K. And it only had one time where it had its time to shine, and it was in another feature match against Green Purple. And my opponent kept Curse Merfolk, 2-drop Ursula, and like triple Flynn Rider. And I went turn 2.
Wow.
Lumiere, turn 3, Just-in-Time Hawkins, RLS Legacy, turn 4, Super Goof, turn 5, Super Goof.
Wow.
And I had no cards in hand. It was bad.
Yeah.
It felt really bad for him.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's so. I love it so much. I love the innovation. Moving forward, what if you were to take this into another event tomorrow? Would you stick with the same 60?
I would not. So I think Super Goof, where it was great in that one particular game,
wasn't worth it overall.
Still wasn't worth it for me. So that card is a flex spot for me if people are making any changes. Other than that, Underworld is good, and it was only good and useful in the red-purple matchup. So that card could also be flexible, even though I'm trying to hedge for that matchup. I will say, if I'm going to give a little teaser of one of the cards that I'm probably putting in, it will be the Queen, the 5-drop. I feel like where the stat line isn't the greatest, it still dodges all of the red removal, so we're happy with that. I know it dies a little easier, just like the Queen of Hearts, but what I didn't put into my brain as we were racking it for the last 2.5 weeks is how much pressure it would apply when your opponents attack your locations. It allows you to profitably attack the guy's back and make them really contemplate if they want to endeavor themselves or expose themselves by killing off these locations. So it's more of a game of chess at this point. Do they want to make this move? And how disadvantageous will this be if they do? I played a total of 4 green steel decks. I 2-0'd 3 of them, and then I lost 1-2 to the one in the top 8.
Yeah. Well, just such an incredible run, and again, like we alluded to earlier, just the amount of opponents that would have been just so thrown off. I expect a lot of people were expecting Mufasa as soon as you showed a couple of colours, and they're expecting certain plays. But yeah, that turn 3 just in time into a gym, into a location, would have thrown me completely off. So I'd love to have been a fly on the wall and seen some of your opponents' reactions. But yeah, an absolutely incredible run, TowelManPurple. Thanks for taking some time to talk to me about it. Please, before you go, let the people know firstly where they can find you and what's next for you in Lorcana, any particular events that you have upcoming.
Yes. So first and foremost, man, thank you so much for having me. I gratefully appreciate it.
Most welcome.
I will be attending some of the upcoming events. I'll be in Texas for the Lorcana Challenge.
Nice, great.
I will be registering for Vegas and Seattle, amongst all of the store championships and anything locally to me. Across all platforms, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, I am TowelManPurple. One word, no spaces in between.
And there we have the top 8 deck lists for the Charlies Collectibles Show 2K. It was a real pleasure to be joined by TowelManPurple. Again, very impromptu, but it was great to get to talk to him about his deck, which is definitely my favourite deck that I've been able to cover so far in set 4. What did you think? Let me know down below. That's all the Lorcana stuff, but a little bit of channel admin. Speaking strictly to, if there are any of you out there Warhammer fans, but specifically the Lord of the Rings Middle-earth version of Warhammer. So very long story short, one of my oldest best friends, to whom me and my mum owe an awful lot to, has done a lot for me over the years when I was at my lowest. I'm not going to go on and on about it, but there was a point in my life where me and my mum were seriously in trouble, and he lent me $3,000 on the spot, no questions asked, just to get us out of trouble. So there are many more reasons why he's a treasured friend, but there's one example for you. But yeah, anyway, I want to do something special for him for his birthday this year. I've not been in a position to for a few years. Financially, but it's looking like I should be in a bit of a better position this year, or at least good enough to like treat him a little bit. But yeah, he is really into Warhammer, and specifically the Lord of the Rings version. Though now, while I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, I know nothing about Warhammer. So to those of you that might be out there, my audience, that might know a little bit about Lord of the Rings Warhammer specifically, can you give me your recommendations of cool things that I could get him, like a budget of like £100 to £200? Like, by all means, suggest something that's more or less than that, and you know, maybe I'll get a couple of things. But yeah, if anyone's into that sort of thing or knows a lot about it, then if you've got any suggestions for something cool to do with that game that you think a Warhammer fan would like, and if you need any questions asked, if you need to know if he's got anything, then I could do some subtle scouting and come back to this conversation. But yeah, just putting that out there. If there are any Warhammer fans, I'd love your recommendations down in the comments. But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Ziggy the Parrot is going nuts in the background. That completely threw me off. Anyway, look after yourselves, and remember, we the villains.